Good afternoon, everybody. It is 6 minutes now past the hour at 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair and on the air all the way until, well, I don't know when we're going to end up tonight. We're at the Nashville Palace as we begin our Super Tuesday coverage, which will kick off with officially at 6. But the doors are open here at the Nashville Palace starting at 3 o'clock. And if you want to come in, we'd love to have you sit in and watch a little bit of our show. We have a couple of gentlemen who have come down a little bit early, sitting at the corner bar. I'm envious because they're sipping on a nice cold beer, and I am not. But one way or the other, we would love to have you come by as we, do our Super Tuesday coverage here at the Nashville Palace. Now, since we just had a few minutes with Matt Murphy and talked extensively about what's happening on Super Tuesday, I want to start out with another topic. We'll go back to Super Tuesday coming up a little bit later. But there's a story out there that I just feel like we've got to talk about, and it has to do with the southern border. You know, this election season, all the polls have tended to show that what's happening down on the border is a concern to very many people. It's either the number one concern or the number two concern behind the economy. And so when you see this kind of story, it really makes you angry at what the Biden administration has been doing behind our backs. And this comes from the dailymail.com. I know Dan Mandis talked about this extensively this morning on his program. Let me share it with you, and do what you can. If you're driving, try to keep it under control because this is going to make you angry. It really is. Joe Biden's administration has admitted transporting migrants on secret flights into the U.S., and lawyers for its immigration agencies claim revealing the locations would create national security vulnerabilities. Now understand this. They were outside the United States, and the Biden administration flew them into the country and released them at various airports around the country. Customs and Border Protection has refused to disclose information about a program last year that was secretly arranging flights for thousands of undocumented immigrants from foreign airports directly into U.S. cities. It means that while record numbers of migrants were flowing over the southern border last year, the Biden White House was also directly transporting them into the country. Use of a cell phone app was allowed for the near undetected arrival by air of some, are you ready for this number? 320,000 aliens who have no legal rights to enter the United States. It comes after a controversy over a 2022 transportation program in which the administration used taxpayers' money to move migrants through the country on overnight flights. Understand that what the Biden administration was trying to do, and the thing that they were most concerned about was that picture of people overwhelming the border. That was a problem for them, and they knew it. So in order to lessen the number of people who showed up at the border where the cameras were, they were taking people outside of the country and flying them directly into this country and releasing them. Now, that is astonishing. That has not been reported before, and I'm telling you, the Daily Mail is on to something here. The story continues that they asked for a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit, and they got the information. The program was part of Biden's expansion of the CBP, and one app which kicked off start of last year. Migrants were able, under Biden's expansion, to apply for asylum using the app from their home countries. But the Center for Immigration Studies notes the transportation of these migrants directly into the U.S. is one of the lesser-known uses of the app. Aliens who cannot legally enter the U.S. use CBP-1 to apply for travel authorization and temporary humanitarian release from the airports. Which airports? It could be an airport near you. It could be, John Tune. It could be an airport in Knoxville. It could be an airport in Memphis. We don't know. Because they're not telling us which airports. We have a right to know, but they're not telling us. Under this parole release, migrants are able to remain in the U.S. for 2 years without obtaining legal status and meanwhile are eligible for work authorization. The administration first said it would not reveal which airports the undocumented aliens were transported, citing a law enforcement exception. in the refusal to hand over the information. But new information from a lawsuit reveals the locations were not disclosed due to fear that bad actors would inflict harm on public safety or that the information would create law enforcement vulnerabilities. Lawyers wrote that revealing the airports would reveal information about the relative number of individuals arriving and thus resources expended at particular airports. This is maddening. This is unbelievable. This is just understand that they didn't even have to wade across the river. The Biden administration was so eager to have them come into the country that they chartered flights to bring them into the country from their native countries. And we're talking about not a small, insignificant number of people. We're talking about 320,000 immigrants that the Biden administration flew directly into the country. So what that tells us is, when we look at the situation at the border, it was worse than we thought because they were doing this behind our backs in secret and trying to keep it all under the cover of darkness. In fact, I'm sure these flights all landed at dark, like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when there was nobody there to see them. But can you imagine? They tell us, we're doing everything we can to stem the flow. We're doing it. But no, they weren't doing that. They were actually putting them on planes and flying them into the United States and dropping them off at an airport near you. Astonishing, amazing, and angering, really angering. Also on the southern border issue, the Biden administration says a number of illegal immigrants living in legal limbo in the United States will hit, you ready for this number? 8 million by October. Since 2019, the number of those listed on the non-detained dockets has more than doubled. The Biden administration has predicted the number of migrants with an uncertain legal status will jump to around 8 million in October. More than 8 million people have crossed the border illegally since Biden took office in 2021. Understand, that's a lot of people. I think we have 7 million, Chris, am I correct, about 7 million people that live in the state of Tennessee? Is that
Yes.
about right?
Yep.
Yeah, and we've got 8 million who came into this country illegally. So more people than live in the state of Tennessee will have come here illegally. And that doesn't even include the gotaways and the unknown gotaways, which may be as much as 2 million more. I don't think it's beyond the pale, because nobody can give you an accurate number, but I don't think it's beyond the pale to believe that there may be 10 million people who have entered the country, and now we find out about 320,000 of them who were flown to the country directly by the Biden administration. Well, we don't want you to have to go across the river. We'll just fly you in. Unbelievable. And, ICE says, well, we're overwhelmed. Yeah, they are overwhelmed. And when they're overwhelmed, what do? They just release folks into the country. From frontpagemag.com, do illegal aliens commit fewer crimes than legal American citizens was the question that was being asked. This past December, U.S. Customs and Border Protection personnel encountered 301,000, almost 302,000 aliens who had crossed America's unprotected southern border unlawfully. That astonishing, unprecedented figure pushed the total number of illegals who had entered the country into about roughly 2.54 million in 2023 alone. If we included the also estimated 840,000 so-called gotaways known to have slipped into the American interior, the total jumps to about 3.4 million. That is more than the population of all the cities in America except New York, Los Angeles, and more than the population of some 22 separate states in 1 year. Now, that's amazing. And they went on to say, are these people, do they create more crimes? I think the sense of the story, and it goes on for several pages, is it certainly does seem that would be the case. And then finally, on this issue, which is so maddening to so many Americans, and I mean, if you're not mad about the Biden administration flying illegal immigrants to this country directly, circumventing the border altogether, if you're not mad about that, I don't know what it takes to get you mad, because that's infuriating. But Democrats love to control the language. The old saying in the Democrat Party is, if you control the language, you control the narrative. And that's why they try to say things, don't like to use the word illegal migrant. They don't like to call them immigrants. Now they are using a new word. They're calling those who have come to this country illegally as newcomers. That's right. They're not illegal immigrants. They're newcomers. Yes, welcome newcomers. Welcome to America. Go in there and disappear into the fabric of America, and we'll call you to court in about 10 years. That's right. I mean, they won't use the term, and it's very subtle. And I'll tell you what happens in a situation like this. The Democrats understand they have a problem with regard to the border in this election cycle. They understand that completely, a real serious problem. So what they do is they get together with focus groups, and they go into a closed room, and they try out different words and different languages, and they see what works with people and what they like and what they dislike, and which words set them off and which words they find more acceptable. And this has all been focus grouped, you can be sure. They do this all the time. And somebody came up with the idea, let's not call them illegal immigrants, let's call them newcomers. They're just newcomers. Welcome, newcomers. Welcome to America. We're so glad to have you here. It's insane. Look, in this election cycle, the border is going to be a huge story. I'm wondering if you'll see anybody pick up this story that the Daily Mail has of the flights that went directly from countries outside the U.S. into the United States, into airports, and now they won't tell us which airports. Don't you think as a community you have the right to know if those flights have landed near you? And if hundreds, thousands of migrants might have been dumped into your neck of the woods in your community? I think you do. Where are they going? And the other thing that sort of makes me crazy about this, if they went to New York, if they went to Chicago, if they went to L.A., if they went to some of these sanctuary cities, the administration is responsible for some of the problems those sanctuary cities are causing, and they may not even know it. The reason that they're holding back on telling you which airports is they know there's going to be blowback, and they may well be responsible for all of the problems, or a good portion of the problems, that these sanctuary cities are experiencing right now by bringing 330,000 migrants directly in the country from outside airports. It's maddening, it's wrong, and we have a right to know exactly which airports were in use here. But do you think the mainstream media will pick up on this story? No. Probably one of the most maddening stories I've seen in months, and they won't even touch it. 20 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. The chairman of the Federal Reserve has said we're on an unsustainable fiscal path, that they aren't going to pay off the $34 trillion debt anytime soon. And so you know what they'll do? They'll just print money to pay the interest on the debt and thus debase the U.S. dollar. Listen, I'm telling you, gold and silver can be a safe haven in uncertain economic times. My friends at Nashville Gold and Coin are standing by to answer all your questions about the precious metals market. Maybe you've thought about adding gold or other precious metals to your portfolio, but feel you just don't have the knowledge you need to make a smart decision. Well, that's the way I felt, but I got the professional guidance I needed at Nashville Gold and Coin. You make an appointment, you sit down one-on-one with my friends at Nashville Gold and Coin. They'll answer your questions, help you make a precious metals investment that is right for you. It's friendly, you will learn a lot, and you will never be subjected to high-pressure sales pitch. So listen, by the way, if you have some old coins, bring them along. You might be surprised how much they're worth. To set up that one-on-one appointment, just go to NashvilleGoldandCoin.com. That's NashvilleGoldandCoin.com.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to this special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
President Biden highlighting a new rule capping all credit card late fees. We'll tell you what that amount is going to be. Some crime in Tennessee and Florida trying to shed its reputation as the spring break party location. 3:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is, what is it, 24 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock. My clock is not in the normal place. I'm at the Nashville Palace as we begin our broadcast here live. I'll be here all the way until we call it quits. I think probably around 8 o'clock tonight is what I'm hearing. We're going to be working. And our Super Talk TV camera is up and running. And if you want to go over there and take a look, you will see our beautiful backdrop. We're here at the Nashville Palace in the front part of the place. We got a lot of room here. People are already starting to show up and claim their seats for an event that is going to be, I think, pretty raucous by the time we get to about 6 o'clock. But come on by if you want. If you got some time, we'd love to see you. It's been Chris and guys, it's been an incredibly busy day. I had to get up early this morning to do the hit with Dan Mandis on the road to the White House. We did that. And I ran over to get voted in Watertown. I was number 27 in line today.
Wow, you were slacking.
Yeah, I know. But I had other things to do. Then, there's all the preparation that goes into this show, and then we did an 11:35 hit, and then I went to Mount Juliet and picked up my new peepers.
Yeah, I saw them.
I have some new glasses. It's a new look. What do you think, guys?
I think it's you, man.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
It has that kind of Clark Kent quality to it, don't you think?
Well, I don't know about all that. Let's not take it too far.
I know
not
I know that you're super, Brian. That's all that matters.
That's right.
right.
Exactly. Thank you. Good answer.
Nicely
there.
done, Mac.
Mac, very nice. They suck up to the boss. That's right. Well, anyway, we then made my way over here to the Nashville Palace for a little chit chat with Matt at 2:35, and now we're well into the show. So a busy day. We'd love for you to come by. I mean, as I said, the doors will be open. They are open now. Few people, we got maybe 10, 12 people who've wandered in to say hello and to watch what we do here, the magic that is the drive each day. And then, again, you'll have Chris Hand and Matt Murphy and Dan Mandis will all be joining me here on the stage in the 6 o'clock hour as we continue on and, looking at some of the results. Now, are we going to get to see all the results? No, because these results coming in from around the country are coming from different time zones, some of them out west and some of them, Alaska. I haven't even figured out, does anybody know off top what time zone Alaska's in? I'm not sure.
It's in Alaska time.
It's in Alaska time.
That's
right.
what I read, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Well, good. I did not know. Because, I have never been there. And I want to go. But anyway, all the numbers will be trickling in throughout the night. Look, there's no real big surprise about what's going to happen here today. Donald Trump is going to rack up a bunch of delegates, and Joe Biden is going to rack up a lot of delegates. And about a third of the delegates that are available today in the 15 states and the all-important primary they're having in American Samoa. So, we get all of these numbers and we'll put them in there. So tomorrow it's possible Donald Trump will be right on the cusp. I guess it's conceivable that he might clinch tonight, but I think he probably will not. It'll be close. Joe Biden might clinch tonight, but he might also just end up the day being close. But I think the real question, and we'll get into this in a moment, is exactly what's going to happen with Nikki Haley. Is she going to get out? There's a lot of signs that maybe that might be in the offing. Well, whatever her next step is, if there is a next step, we'll hope to get to find out about that. So, again, it's going to be a long night, and we'll be bringing you all the results as they come in tonight. You can listen here on Super Talk 99.7. You can watch on Super Talk TV, or, why not just drop by? Cabana Wife has already said she's going to be by here, so come by and say hello to her. She'll be here around 6 o'clock. So hey, hello, everybody. Come on in. Have yourself a place to sit. Man, people are wandering in. Great. So I'll tell you, I think this place is going to be rocking about 6 o'clock. I've heard from people who say they're going to be bringing like carloads of people. So if you want to get in here and get a seat, you better get in here early.
Did you bring your guitar, Brian?
Huh?
Did you bring your guitar?
No, I didn't.
No?
I didn't.
So you
I've
can't
always
say you
wanted to play
played
the
the
Palace,
stage?
but I think this counts, doesn't it? I'm playing the Palace, aren't I?
Kind of, yeah.
I'm up on the stage in the Palace. I think it counts, and besides, people would rather hear me talk than hear me sing. I can assure you of that. All right, so big day, busy day. Stick around. We got a lot to talk about. We'll do a deep dive on Super Tuesday, all the latest news coming up right after 4 o'clock newscast. Right now it's 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 and time for the news.
"30 minutes after the hour of 3 o'clock, I am Mac Maury with your top story. 62 degrees and a wet day in Music City. Got rainy days ahead this week. Weather forecast, traffic report, 5 minutes. President Biden today announcing the creation of a new strike force, cracking down on illegal and unfair pricing. The president also highlighting a new rule capping all credit card late fees to $8. Karen Travers with details.
President Biden says the new rule will help stop some credit card companies from, as he put it, ripping Americans off with late fees.
This action will collectively save families $10 billion in credit card late fees every year. That's the average of $220 in savings annually for more than 45 million Americans who typically have to pay late fees.
The rule closes a loophole and cuts the typical credit card late fee from $32 to $8. It's expected to take effect in mid-May.
The Justice Department and the FTC will lead the new strike force. Some crime in Tennessee. 36-year-old Richard Cornelius, a security guard at a downtown bar, was arrested after allegedly assaulting 26-year-old Austin Turner on February 18th. Midtown Hills Precinct detectives accused Cornelius of striking Turner, causing him to fall to the ground unconscious. Turner remains hospitalized at Vanderbilt Medical Center. According to a GoFundMe set up by his mother, Turner suffered a skull fracture that led to a subdural hematoma. He remains in critical care in a coma. Cornelius was released on a $25,000 bond. And this year, Florida looking to shed its reputation as spring break party central and cracking down on all the chaos. Dave Packer reports.
Hundreds of thousands have already flocked to Florida for spring break. But after a deadly season last year, the state is cracking down on unruly vacationers. Governor Ron DeSantis.
Florida is a very welcoming state. We welcome people to come and have a good time. What we don't welcome is criminal activity. What we don't welcome is mayhem and people that want to wreak havoc on our communities.
DeSantis says additional state troopers will be deployed in South Florida, along with bag checks on the beach and off.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Mac Morey, WDN News.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to this special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
37 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson coming to you live from the Nashville Palace. That's right. We're establishing the beachhead for the rest of the guys who will join us in the 6 o'clock hour, maybe a little before. You know, it's loosey goosey. They'll show up when they show up, and we'll have those guys joining us a little bit later. In the meantime, the doors at the Palace are open. We'd love for you to come by and be a part of what we're doing here today. Let's take a run to the swamp because there is a lot of swampalicious stuff to talk about here today. Surprising me today was the announcement that Senator Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona announced today that she will not seek re-election when her first term ends next year. She was on the ballot and the initial going, but chose today to make the announcement that she will not seek re-election. She's going to be one and done. She was, you may remember, she started out and was elected as a Democrat, then switched her allegiance to independent in 2022. Now that leaves the two big candidates in the race right now are Republican candidate Kari Lake and Democrat Ruben Gallego. Now, this is going to be quite a run here for the money, but it was generally thought, I've been looking at what the local folks are saying there, National Republican Senatorial Committee Chairman Steve Daines, Republican of Montana, said that the open Senate seat creates a unique opportunity for Republicans to build a lasting Senate majority this November. Recent polling showing Kyrsten Sinema pulling far more Republican voters than Democrats. Her decision to retire improves Kari Lake's opportunity to flip this seat. This is bad news for Ruben Gallegos. Good news for Kari Lake. And I must say, a little bit of a surprise. She was not polling well. The move from Democrat to independent did not go over well in some circles, and some folks in Arizona had become frustrated with her. I know that on Capitol Hill, from people I know there, say she was very well liked in the Senate and was an effective senator. She was one of those people who could go to Republicans or go to Democrats and try to work out compromise. She's very much about trying to find a third way and bringing back the old-fashioned concept of compromise. But one way or the other, she's one and done. She will have served 6 years in the Senate, and she's moving on. Really good news, I think, for Kari Lake. Look, I've looked at the people who are running in the Senate this cycle. You know, 1/3 of the Senate is always up for re-election every 2 years. But as it turns out, this particular cycle, a lot more Democrats are having to defend their seats than there are Republicans. There is a really excellent chance that Republicans will take the Senate. I don't know that we can hold on to the House because the margins are so, razor thin there. But the way it's looking right now, Republicans could easily take control of the Senate after this election. And in today's news from Kyrsten Sinema is a big help to Kari Lake, who may well become Senator Kari Lake. We'll watch that one very closely as we go forward. Also from the swamp, Mitch McConnell announced that he was getting out and would no longer be the in this case, minority leader, Republican leader in the Senate, not going to run for that. Will stay and represent the state of Kentucky through the rest of his term, but is no longer going to seek leadership position. And so that set off a big race among the three Johns. You have John Cornyn of Texas, you have John Thune of South Dakota, and John Barrasso of Wyoming. And everybody was wondering, well, who's going to make a run for it? Cornyn immediately put his name in the hat from Texas. And now today, John Thune says that he wants to be the Republican leader going forward. Came off the sidelines telling local news outlets in his home state of South Dakota that he wants to be the next GOP leader when McConnell steps down in November. I hope to be. I'm going to do everything I can to convince my colleagues that they're the voters. They're the ones who ultimately make the decision. Again, John is one of three Johns. John Thune is one of three Johns viewed as the leading contenders for the slot. He has an early advantage of being the number 2 Senate Republican right now, but will face stiff competition from John Cornyn, who's been an advisor to McConnell for many years and previously held the role of whip. And then you have John Barrasso, who I don't think has made his thoughts completely known yet. But, he's not made his intentions clear, but told reporters that he would speak with colleagues about what direction they want to take the conference. So that's pretty interesting. I've always liked John Thune. When I covered the Senate, one of the things that, he came on having defeated the sitting Democrat leader in the Senate at the time and took him out of the picture from South Dakota. And everybody sort of thought, well, this is a guy who must have some game. He's well liked, I think, inside the hallways of the Senate. And my personal relationship with him was always a comparison of our cowboy boots, because he wore tremendously beautiful cowboy boots. And we would, every time we stopped, we would take a moment to compare who that day had the better set of cowboy boots. Some days I won, some days I lost. But I like John Thune. I think he's a good guy. Be interesting to see how that all starts to shape up. There is a battle going on in the swamp today for what happens in the House of Representatives with some spending bills. A package of 6 bills, writes thehill.com, that needs to pass by Friday to avoid a partial government shutdown is drawing intense fire from conservatives in both chambers who are zeroing in on the more than, are you ready for this, 6,000 earmarks buried in the package. The spending package was initially expected to pass easily, but now faces a rocky path in the Senate, where it's become a political football in the ongoing with the GOP leadership and Trump-aligned conservatives. If conservatives drag out the process, they could force a short shutdown over the weekend. Senate conservatives are trying to elevate the package in the race to replace outgoing Republicans leader Mitch McConnell, putting McConnell's top deputy, John Thune, in a tough spot for the moment. And we've talked about that, so we don't need to go into that anymore. But this earmark bill is not finding favor in some quarters in the Senate, and certainly not finding much favor over in the House of Representatives, where conservatives are getting, how do I put this, increasingly irritated with Speaker Mike Johnson for passing financial measures with the support of more Democrats than there are Republicans. I don't know how much longer he can get away with that nonsense, but Congress is not happy with it, and Republicans in the House are not happy with it. On Sunday, House Appropriations Committee Chairwoman Kay Granger and Senate Appropriations Committee Chair Patty Murray released this hybrid appropriations bill and said that they thought it was the way to go. But it has 605 pages of earmarks. Read that, pork. That's what that means. Earmarks means pork. So I don't know what's going to happen there, but I think there's something to watch very closely here, because it feels to me like Mike Johnson, the speaker, who I like a lot, and I think he's done some good, and I think he's a good representative and a good spokesman for Republicans in the House. And I like some of the things he's done with regard to holding the Biden administration accountable on border issues. But he's losing favor with some of the conservatives. And remember, it is true that in the House of Representatives, any one member can go to the well and demand a vote on vacating the chair. And what vacating the chair means is we're going to fire the Speaker of the House. That's what we saw. Now, I think the thing that keeps that from happening is the last time they went through that process, it didn't work out very well, and it reduced the number of seats that the Republicans had as a cushion. Now they don't have hardly any cushion at all. So I don't think that a lot of Republicans want to open up that can of worms, but boy, are they frustrated that these spending bills keep getting pushed through, temporary or otherwise, with a lot of Democrat votes and not that many Republican votes. So watch that to see exactly what happens in the days ahead. So the swamp, listen, the thing you got to understand about the swamp right now is here we are, Super Tuesday. Every single thing that happens in the House of Representatives on these days and everything that happens in the Senate has to be viewed through the lens of the looming election. Everything becomes political. Everything becomes hyper-partisan, each side trying to gain advantage over the other. And so, I used to call it, when I covered the House and Senate, the silly season, because it really does get very silly with every minute thing that ever comes across, becomes a controversial political football that people want to use to gain advantage on the other side. That is definitely happening now. Really, honestly, when you get this deep into election season, not much happens. And that's especially true in a body like Congress, which has a Republican control in the House and Democrat control in the Senate. That is the very definition of gridlock. Not much more is going to happen, but they do have to pass these spending bills, and it will be interesting to see how much these conservatives in the House are willing to swallow to move forward. I mean, they're really irritated, really upset. And so we'll want to see exactly what happens there. A lot happening in the swamp, and again, we're broadcasting live today from the Nashville Palace. That's why you may hear the tinkling of glass and a little room echo. It's because we have started our broadcast down here. We're going to be here all the way till 8 o'clock tonight. The guys will all join me somewhere around 6 o'clock, 5 or 6 o'clock. And so it's going to be a busy day here on the drive. Come on by. The doors are open. Love to have you come by and watch a little bit of what we do. And I know you'll be astonished and amazed at how this show comes together. Sometimes I am as well. Let's call it 49 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Let me talk about United Structural Systems. This is a company that does structural repair on homes, but also waterproofing. And this time of year, with all the rain we're having right now, for example, you can find yourself with real needs in the area of waterproofing. Standing water in your crawl space, you have wet basement walls, musty odors, you have wood rot in some places, cracks in basement floors. Maybe you notice in some places that your hardwood floors have started to cup. Your house is trying to tell you you need some waterproofing done on your most important investment, your home. So listen, take a look at that, and let's call the folks at USS. The number, here it is. It's 615-488-7855. They'll come out. They'll take a look at what's going on with your situation. They will make an assessment about what they should do and how they can fix your problem. And if you like it, you decide to go forward. You don't pay a penny until the job is done, and you are completely satisfied. USS, they guarantee their best, serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, and Western Kentucky, online at USSTN.com. Again, the number, 615-488-7855.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to this special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
3 children were aboard that flight that crashed and killed all 5 people on I-40 East last night. Crime rates in Tennessee and Super Tuesday voters speaking out. Those stories, 4 o'clock, Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
Well, it is 55 minutes after the hour here at Super Talk 99.7, just about done with hour number 1 of our, we're doing 3 hours solo, and then at 6 o'clock, we'll be joined by all the guys, Dan Mandis, Chris Hand, Matt Murphy, and I will all continue on through the evening until about probably around 8 o'clock or so as we watch the Super Tuesday results come in here at the Nashville Palace. Listen, we are going to have a big old group here tonight. It's going to be, I think, a rollicking and rocking good time. But the doors are open now if you want to come by and watch a little bit of the drive and maybe, get something to eat or drink. Couple of guys on the corner here, and they're having a great time. And what is that? I'm not counting. How many is that now? Number 3. As I say, it'll be rocking before the night is over. Looking at the markets real quickly, Dow and Jones Industrial Average end of the day down 400 points. The S&P down 52. The NASDAQ down 267 points. It's not a good day, second bad day. What's driving all of these red screens? Let's check in with John Maxon over at Beacon Capital Management. Good afternoon, John.
Hey, good afternoon, Brian. Yeah, not a good day in the market, not a good week so far. This is really all about the Fed. You mentioned the Dow being down. The NASDAQ was hit the worst. Tesla and Apple were two of the hardest hit stocks on the NASDAQ, but it's really a preamble to the Fed. The Fed's going to be testifying in front of the House on Wednesday and then the Senate on Thursday. And the market, of course, has been really excited about potential interest rate cuts, but the Fed's really been dampening that expectation, and they really want to see more evidence that inflation is continuing to fall. So the market's a little disappointed. We're seeing a little bit of a pullback after hitting all-time highs. The Fed will probably talk about labor, the housing market, and wage growth, but the market's going to be watching all that really closely. If it's a negative message, probably a little bit more sell-off. So tomorrow's a big day.
All right. Thank you very much, John. And you can find out all the things that John Maxon and the good folks over at Beacon Capital Management can do for you by going to their website and find out if you're ready for retirement. That's askbeaconnow.com. It is 58 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk. I want you to imagine for a moment how you would feel if you or a loved one that is near to you could end their pain. Well, let's see, Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley over at the Wellness Institute of Nashville can help you live a pain-free life. Because getting better and feeling healthy is important to both of them. They're freezing costs at 2023 levels. That's right. You get half off spinal decompression treatment, half off the KT knee machine, and new patients can get a full consultation for only, you ready, $23. Now, here's what you get. You'll see Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley, and you go through the non-surgical spinal decompression. They will review your case and go over the findings they have and the suggestions they have for treatment. And then you'll review any previous MRIs or x-rays you may have brought along. They're often finding things that other people miss. Holding the 2023 pricing, just $23 for new patients. You get an exam, consultation, x-rays included if needed. And so you want to come by and see Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley to set up a consultation today. Here's the number to set up your appointment, 615-246-5009. I'm Brian Wilson, and I put my stamp of approval on the Wellness Institute of Nashville. So call them today. Learn more at painisbad.com.
4 o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top story. 61 degrees, a rainy, wet day in Nashville. Traffic complete weather forecast coming up 5 minutes. A fatal plane crash in Tennessee. A single-engine plane crashed last night on the side of I-40 West in Nashville, ending the lives of the 5 people on board, including 3 children. Channel 4's Michael Warwick has an update from officials investigating.
Federal investigators have taken the plane wreckage and will try and piece it back together to determine what went wrong here last night. We know all 5 people on board, including 3 children, died in this crash. The NTSB just told us moments ago the plane was destined for John Tune Airport, but the pilot overflew the airport and then just minutes later reported that his engine died. They were on the way back when the plane went down on the shoulder of I-40. We were able to talk to some witnesses who said that the plane was flying low over some homes and that they heard the engine sputtering. We don't know much about the victims, but we do know from the NTSB that they were all Canadian citizens.
In approximately 10 days, they'll have a preliminary report finished, and then 9 to 12 months after that, an official probable cause will be released. In the meantime, they're asking the public for any sort of footage of that crash last night. Ring camera videos, car cameras. If you saw or heard this crash, they ask you visit ntsb.gov to help. Crime rates in the volunteer state. News 2 reporting based off of data from Metro Police that say a lot of violent offenses have decreased in the city in the past year. Besides rape had an increase of 233%. 93 reports of rape reported 2 months into this year. As of March 2nd of this year, homicide was down more than 50% compared to the same time, with data also showing slight decreases in instances of robbery and aggravated assault. Property crime as well as auto theft have both seen slight increases up to this point in the year. And it's Super Tuesday. Voters are speaking up about what they believe are the most prominent issues this election year. Im Nguyen has more from Washington.
For many voters casting a ballot for the Democratic primary, they cite democracy and abortion as top issues for this election.
Health care and making sure that our young people have equal opportunities and access to education.
For those voting in the Republican primary, many point to the border and immigration and foreign affairs as the most important issues. Both sides believe the economy is the top concern. And despite the lack of enthusiasm for a potential 2020 rematch, many like Malwin Johnson are hoping for a big voter turnout.
We want everybody to be able to vote and voice their vote.
And that is the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is 7 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair and on the air. Coming to you live from the Nashville Palace. We have some people there. Do you guys, can you make some noise? Thank you. I don't want people to think I'm here by myself. We're not here by myself. We got a good group showing up. I mean, it's what? Is it 4 o'clock and people are starting to show up? I think we're going to have a rocking good time tonight. I understand that the place is expected to be SRO, standing room only. So, come on by if you want to watch a little bit of our show. The other guys will be joining me here, I don't know, somewhere around 5:30, 6 o'clock. I don't know. It's loosey-goosey, but they'll start rolling in here, and we've got a big broadcast as we watch the results come in and we talk about Super Tuesday. This is Super Tuesday. Let's do our official Road to the White House report. That's right. This is Super Tuesday. I hope that you took the opportunity to vote early or voting today. I went by in Watertown at the community center and voted around, I think about 9:15 this morning. I was the number 27 person to have been through casting my ballot, but I hope that you will cast your ballot. It is important to be heard. What we're trying to do here on Super Tuesday is decide who's going to be our nominee. Now, I don't think there's going to be any big surprise who's going to win tonight. I think Donald Trump is going to rack up a lot of delegates. I think he will annihilate Nikki Haley. On the other side of the equation, Joe Biden will may even clinch tonight. It's going to be close. This is the big one. About a third of all delegates are up for grabs, and so the real question is now, I think. That sort of the unknown question is what will happen to Nikki Haley. Now, what do we know about Nikki Haley is that she apparently, according to many reports, although she pushed back a little bit on this, there are no reports that she is spending money on radio or television advertising after today. She does have some digital advertising that's still going. She says she's not through advertising, but she has gone back to South Carolina to await results coming in tonight. And to my knowledge, and according to the people that are traveling with her, there are no other events that are on the calendar as of right now. But she keeps, making noises like she may stay in there a little longer. What would be the purpose of that is unknown to me. And I am told, I didn't hear the interview, but it's being reported back to me that she made an appearance on Fox News today and said that she had no interest in being a third-party candidate. That really is quite surprising to me because I thought she was keeping her powder dry for something like that. But she has said again that she's not interested in being the no-labels candidate, and she's gone as far as to say she apparently is not interested in running as a third-party candidate. Now, that makes it even more mysterious as to why she's behaving the way she's behaving. Why stay in the race when you have no pathway to the nomination for to be the Republican nominee? You don't have a pathway. It's not going to happen. We all know that's going to be Donald Trump. And then to go a step further and alienate virtually every Republican in the party who supports Donald Trump by continuing to attack Donald Trump. What is the purpose? If you wanted to have a good relationship going forward, if you wanted to be thought of, in a positive way in 4 or 8 years, then the question becomes exactly, why do you keep attacking the man who is going to be the presumptive nominee for the party? I don't understand it. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. But as I say, she's gone back to South Carolina. She will take a breath here. And when you're in a campaign mode, I got to tell you, I've been inside. I've covered campaigns from the inside and watched them, and they are chaotic and frenzied affairs. They are. They truly are. And you're just head down. What's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? You don't look too far ahead. You're just trying to get through your schedule. And then there comes a time and a place where a candidate has to stop, catch his or her breath, and then decide what they want going forward. So, look, it sounds like she may be willing to back out now. But again, I don't understand if that was what she was all about. Why would she spend so much time attacking Donald Trump? It doesn't endear her to Republicans. In fact, Republicans are mad at her. She's mismanaged this thing terribly. The only thing that made sense to me was that she might want to go forward as a third-party candidate and leave her powder dry on that. But it's sounding increasingly as if she is saying that is not in her plan. So the big question, what will Nikki do now? She won D.C. Some people are saying because of the unusual way that they vote in Colorado, and what you have is a bunch of uncommitted voters who don't register either as a Republican or a Democrat. In the state of Colorado, everybody gets sent a ballot to their home, right? They get us out, and if you are an uncommitted, you get both a Democrat and a Republican ballot, which means that uncommitted voters in the state of Colorado could decide to mess with Donald Trump a little bit by supporting her. So she might do okay in Colorado, but the vast majority of the 15 states that are going to be decided in the next few hours, Donald Trump is going to clean her clock. There's just not much doubt about that. Other things that I want to bring to your attention, ladies and gentlemen, please pay attention to this, because I'm only going to say, I'm not going to gloat. I'm not going to say, I told you so, but I told you so. Michelle Obama had issued a statement from her office saying, I am not going to run for the office of the presidency. Now, I've been saying this since, forever, that Michelle Obama does not have the fire in her belly. She does not want to go back to the White House. It was widely known during the Obama years that she hated every moment she was at the White House. She did not suffer that very gladly. She made Barack Obama promise that, he was done with politics, that she wanted to be done with that kind of thing. And so, she has no interest in becoming a candidate. And she said so today, or issued, I guess, early this morning from her office that indeed she is not interested and will support Joe Biden as the nominee. A lot to read in there, because, a lot of people are believing that, Joe Biden might be shoved out. And the person who would have to make that house call to Joe and have that conversation probably would be Barack Obama. That Michelle Obama says that her intention to support the candidacy of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris suggests that maybe just Joe Biden will be the nominee. I can't imagine that would be the case, but it's entirely possible. So the Supreme Court decision, as we talked about yesterday, big deal for Trump. That really helps. A lot of people say that is a game changer. That's a big win for him. In the general elections, as we have it right now, Fox has, and again, general election numbers don't mean much, but they are interesting to look at. Fox says if the election were held today between Biden and Trump, Trump would win by 2. If you look at the 5-way race, he would win by 3. Wall Street Journal, Trump wins by 2. 5-way race, he wins by 5, according to the Wall Street Journal. CBS News and the New York Times have him at 4. You average all those together, and that's a good way to look at it. And it has Trump leading by 4, which is starting to approach the margin of error. So Trump is starting to look good. Now, again, it's early, and I hear everybody say, well, why do you give us the numbers? Well, because I think it's important to look at where we are now, but to also look at the trend. Polls are all about the trend. What is the trend? And right now, the momentum is with Donald Trump. There seems to be no doubt about that. One other thing to note is that there was a big push by Kamala Harris to say that she wanted to see an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. Now, why would she do that now? It seems that the Biden White House is increasingly worried about what might happen in the state of Michigan. As you know, right now, Donald Trump is leading in all 7 of the swing states, including Michigan. And Biden, I don't know how you become the president of the United States and rack up the necessary 270 electoral college votes without having gone through Michigan. And in Michigan right now, Arab American voters and voters who are, Muslim voters, not very happy about Biden's handling in the conduct of that war. And so for her now to be pushing hard for a ceasefire is an attempt to ameliorate those concerns and to make sure that they have a better chance in the state of Michigan. Isn't it interesting, foreign policy being decided by the state of Michigan? Isn't that interesting? There are other things to look at tonight in our Super Tuesday report. Let me go through some of them. There is a primary for a rare open Senate seat in the state of California. This is the seat once held by Dianne Feinstein. She is turned into a competitive race, and there are 3 Democrats and 1 Republican that are on the ballot right now. And it looks like the leaders in those races are Adam Schiff and the Republican baseball great Steve Garvey. Steve Garvey is doing really well in the polling that has been done there, which suggests that perhaps wouldn't it be something? Wouldn't it be something if the state of California were to be represented by Republican Steve Garvey of baseball fame? Watch that race tonight, but it won't be decided for a while, given that those numbers are coming in from the West Coast. There is a North Carolina gubernatorial race. There is an Alabama incumbent versus another incumbent in the state of Alabama, trying to figure out what will happen there because I think of redistricting that has happened. The Texas State House Speaker's challenge is something to watch. Republicans who voted to impeach Trump on the defense in California is one of the 2 House Republicans still in Congress, and to find out whether he goes forward. There's a North Carolina Attorney General's primary that's interesting. There's a whole bunch of different stuff that's going on in little races to be decided. What people will be looking for here is to find out, well, does this really portend what might happen in November? Are there any conclusions we can draw? Is there a trend to be seen? Are the Democrats losing big? Are the Republicans losing big? A lot of people will look at those races and try to decide exactly what it might mean for November. So a lot of those cases will be watched very, very closely. Really the one to watch is California and that whole situation. Let's see what else we have in Super Tuesday news. Well, I think that's probably going to be all we have time for right now. But listen, if you haven't voted, go vote. And if you have plans to watch the results come in, why not do it here with us at the Nashville Palace? Right now, 20 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Grace Point Healthcare delivers medicine affordably with menu-style transparent pricing so you'll know how much it will cost before the care is delivered. Known for their smart care plans that start at $69 a month, you get unlimited office visits and free basic labs for the entire year. And because they treat the entire family, even newborns, they have family plans as well. Here's what you should think about. You could marry that with a high-deductible insurance plan that you may have been forced to get, and you might save you and your family a lot of money. At Grace Point, they take their time with each patient. They see you the same or next day. There are no long wait times or crowded wait rooms. They treat naturally whenever possible, and it is a military vet-owned practice. Just some of the reasons why it's been voted the best primary care provider year after year after year. Grace Point Healthcare on Main Street in Franklin, 599-6868 to schedule a visit.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to this special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
No ceasefire deal reached yet between Israel and Hamas. Plus, we'll have today's money news. Those stories 30 minutes after the hour of 4 o'clock right here. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hello, everybody. It is 24 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. We are at the Nashville Palace. I'm playing the Palace. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? The man, the myth, the legend. You know him, you love him. You cannot live without him. Dan Mandis is in the room. Say hello to Dan Mandis. That's right. Showing up early to make sure everything is good. So thank you, Dan, for dropping by.
And so far, so good. A great crowd.
Yeah,
so it's barely like 4 o'clock.
I know. It's really amazing. Mm-hmm. Well, we got a lot of ground to cover here before we get to the official activities in the 6 o'clock hour. But everybody will be here. You might want to come down and get your seat because I think it's going to be SRO. I think it's going to be standing room only. Big crowd already starting to develop here at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay. We had a tragic thing happen in Nashville last night where a plane, a small private plane, went down just off of I-40 eastbound. And sadly, 5 people have lost their lives. We're getting more information about it now. It turns out that aboard that plane were 2 adults and 3 children who all died in what was described as a catastrophic explosion when the plane tried to land. We don't know exactly what happened, but we do know that the pilot, and this when you know what's going on, listening to this audio, you just got to know that this poor pilot realizes he's about to potentially meet his maker, which entirely is exactly what happened, because he's lost his engine, and telling him, well, you know what, you need to get into the John Thune Airport, but he's not got enough altitude to get there. He's gliding, he has no power, and he's just desperate to find a place where he might put it down. Here is the conversation that took place between the air traffic controller and the pilot of that plane.
Foxtrot, Bravo, Whiskey, Hotel. Do you still have John Thune Airport in sight? Army 20723, contact 2 Tower 924.
Nashville, I'm declaring an emergency. My engine shut down.
Charlie, Foxtrot, Bravo, Whiskey, Hotel. Are you trying to land at John Thune?
My engine turned off. I'm at 1,600. I'm going to be landing. I don't know where.
Charlie, Foxtrot, Bravo, Whiskey, Hotel. I'm declaring an emergency. Do you have the airport in sight? Straight in runway 2. Straight in runway 2 at John Thune. Do you have the airport?
Yes, I have the runway in sight.
November 5 Alpha Tango, runway 2. Runway 2, clear to land.
I'm too far away. I won't make it.
Okay.
You find that airplane.
Charlie, Foxtrot, Bravo, Whiskey, Hotel. Charlie, Foxtrot, Bravo, Whiskey, Hotel. Approach you up. If you can glide in there, sir. If you can glide in, they're clearing the runway for you.
And that was the last that was heard. You hear him say, I'm going to land, and there's a heavy sigh as if he realizes, man, I'm in a world of hurt here. I don't know where I'm going to land. And then he said, well, can you go into runway 2? You have clearance to go straight into runway 2. Can you make it? And he says, I haven't got enough altitude to make it. I'm not going to make it. And so he did not make it, and it was a horrific crash. Some of the traffic cameras in the area actually caught, what happened when that plane hit the grassy area on the side of I-40. What a shock it must have been for the people who were, out just driving down there trying to find out, find some way to get home, and to have a tragic crash like that. Really very, very sad, very, very sad situation. So they are continuing to try to find out more about that. The investigators are working the case. I'm sure it's not been very easy today, given all the heavy rains, but the NTSB folks are really good at trying to piece things together. But a sad loss, 2 adults, 3 children lost in that crash, and you can just hear the realization from that pilot. I don't know where I'm going to put this plane down. How sad. What a moment that must have been. And by the way, did you hear somebody else out there, somebody else that was flying and was listening in on this conversation said, you keep flying that airplane, which, of course, was the best advice they could give him. But I'm telling you, words of encouragement were not enough last night. What a sad, tragic thing that is. Other Tennessee news, Nashville residents are going to divvy up $10 million of COVID release money Did you know that I love this, that they had $10 million left over from all the pandemic money they got. So they asked people, what do you want to do with it? And everybody put forward their ideas, and now those ideas are coming into fruition. A lot of it will go to parks. A lot of it will go to libraries. Madison Branch Library, Goodlettsville Branch Library, Hermitage Branch Public Library. A lot of it will go to traffic and pedestrian safety, which is apparently an issue that is near and dear to the heart of Freddie O'Connell, the mayor, talking about traffic calming. We're going to be calming the traffic. Other initiatives, Ruby Majors Elementary School getting some playground improvements, historic markers for the South Belmont neighborhood, and other things. So, again, $10 million being divvied up into different projects. A lot of largesse coming from the O'Connell administration. And Dan, I know you're busy preparing for later, but I want your opinion about this next story because I know it means a lot to you. Middle Tennessee food scene, In-N-Out Burger submits site plan for a new restaurant in Lebanon.
Listen, it needs to be in Wilson County.
Yeah.
It's not that hard, folks. Wilson County.
That's right. Lebanon Mayor Rick Bell has announced that In-N-Out Burger has submitted a new site plan to open a restaurant on South Hartman Drive.
Anything in Mount Juliet?
That's right.
I need Mount Juliet.
No, it's going to be in Lebanon on South Hartman Drive, which is much closer to me than it is to you.
Yeah, but you don't appreciate In-N-Out like I do.
Well, I'm going to learn.
You are. You know what? I want to have you had In-N-Out yet?
No.
I'm going to take you to your first In-N-Out.
I'm there.
Okay.
Time for the news now, 31 past the hour.
.431, I'm Mac Maury with your top story. 62 degrees, another overcast, rainy day in Nashville. Looking like a gloomy weather week ahead. We got a forecast and a traffic report 5 minutes away. No ceasefire agreement yet between Israel and Hamas. Talks with Hamas and Cairo ending today. No breakthrough. White House National Security Communications Advisor John Kirby today says it's up to Hamas to make a move.
What we're looking for and what we want, temporary ceasefire for about 6 weeks. That'll allow us to get more aid in and, more importantly, get all those hostages back with their families where they belong and reduce the violence. That's the deal on the table. And as the president also said today, it's a rational deal. And the Israelis have been cooperating. They have been negotiating in good faith on this. It's time for Hamas to step up to the plate, take a swing, and let's get this thing done.
Kirby says they're still negotiating, trying to get there. Now over to some money news. Daria Albinger filling us in on Wall Street activity.
Stocks took a Tuesday tumble, the losses accelerating into the close. The Dow gave up 405 points and NASDAQ fell 268. The S&P closed down 52. Bitcoin had an intraday high, followed by a plunge. Investors are looking ahead to Fed Chair Jerome Powell's visit to Capitol Hill. He'll appear before the House Wednesday and the Senate Thursday. He is expected to tell lawmakers that the central bank is in no hurry to cut interest rates. President Biden's war on junk fees is now focusing on credit cards. The White House announcing a rule to cap late fees at $8, a move that regulators say could save consumers up to $10 billion a year. Target is getting into the paid membership game. The Minneapolis-based discount retailer's new program is called Target Circle 360. It'll offer perks like unlimited same-day delivery in as little as an hour and 2-day shipping for an, at first, $49 membership fee.
And that is the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Let me tell you about the folks over at Eurofix. If you've been watching the folks at Eurofix for a long time, you know that they've been in Middle Tennessee, and they're the place to go for European car repair for some 24 years now. And we've watched them grow. I don't know about you, but I get really excited when I see a hometown business take off. Well, the folks at Eurofix are now proud to announce another location of Eurofix in Mount Juliet. If you don't know, it's on Mount Juliet Road, directly across from the Dairy Queen. I always know where the Dairy Queen is. Eurofix can serve you in Franklin, 100 Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and now in Mount Juliet. It's pretty cool getting to watch a small-town mechanic starting in a barn in the backyard of his single-wide trailer grow to 5 locations where they are now repairing, and I'm not making this number up, thousands of cars each month. At Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair. So call this number, 844-EUROFIX, or visit myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to the special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
It is 38 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. And yes, I am not coming to you from bucolic Watertown. I'm coming to you from the Nashville Palace, which is already starting to fill up for our big event tonight, where we're going to watch the Super Tuesday numbers come in. So it's time for you to come on down. Come on down. We have some seats available, but I have a feeling that before very long, it's going to be SRO in this room. So it's going to be a packed house tonight as we all hang out and watch the results come in on Super Tuesday. I'm Brian Wilson. Dan Mandis has shown up here a little early. He'll be, I'll be coming to Dan from time to time as we do the rest of the show. Now, everybody else will be here by 6 o'clock, maybe before then. And so, you'll have Chris Hand, you'll have Matt Murphy, and Dan Mandis and I are already here. So come on down. Love to join you. On this program, ladies and gentlemen, we have a reputation to uphold because we believe the truth is out there. From time to time, we bring you up to date on the growing concern about UAPs, or as they're called, unidentified aerial phenomenon. Now, sometimes an unidentified aerial phenomenon can be a weather balloon. Sometimes it can be, a man-made drone. And that happens from time to time. But it's interesting, in thehill.com today, an op-ed by Ryan Graves, a former Navy pilot, who has some things to say. And remember, he's in touch with a lot of people in the Navy right now. And the things that he has to say are very, very interesting. I'll read from this op-ed. Last year, the nation's attention was riveted by a Chinese spy balloon that maneuvered across the U.S. before it was shot down by an F-22 just off the coast of South Carolina. The mistaken identification of an enemy drone as an American drone in Jordan led to the death of 3 U.S. service members last month. Retaliatory strikes against Iranian proxies risk escalation in war with Iran. Meanwhile, in Ukraine, American military planners are witnessing the transformation of modern warfare with low-cost drones, which make battle tanks look obsolete. And then there is the unidentified objects. Listen, don't worry about the Chinese spy balloons. Okay, I mean, we need to know what they're up to, but that's not the big concern. He is more concerned about what's going on with the unidentified aerial phenomenon that he has personally witnessed, and he hears from Navy personnel they continue to witness. In 2014, when I served in the U.S. Navy, my FA-18 squadron and I were operating in a military training range off the coast of Virginia and began witnessing unidentified aerial phenomenon on radar and infrared after a generational upgrade to our systems. My squadron then started seeing them with their own eyes, including a near miss. The UAP displayed anomalous performance, holding stationary in hurricane force winds. They appeared to travel at supersonic speeds and outlasted our fighters by hours, despite no visible engines or infrared exhaust. He testified about these experiences to Congress last July, along with David Fravor. He goes on to say that he continues to hear from people and that UAP reporting from the Air Force and others is anemic, reporting from the Army and Space Force non-existent. Data sharing between the intelligence community and the Defense Department remains a major challenge. For commercial pilots, there is no direct confidential reporting channel at all. Yet, we have a real problem here in that they believe that these are a danger to navigation. The ongoing gap in UAP data collection invites the question of whether we are doing everything we can to protect our national security. Could it be that a decades-old stigma around UFOs is getting in the way? The Inspector General of the Department of Defense recently released an unclassified report which found that the department has no overarching UAP policy, and as a result it lacks assurance that national security and flight safety threats to the United States from UAP have been identified. The president says if there's something out there that's threatening our airspace, he will take it down. But not much seems to be being done about the unidentified aerial phenomenon that our military continue to encounter. One bright spot is that Congress is getting involved, but they're having a difficult time getting the answers to this as well. He claims that there's much to be done. It's unacceptable that we cannot identify UAP that may be adversarial platforms and a threat to the safety of our military and civilian pilots. Let's identify what's in our skies. Look, we don't know what they are. I mean, could it be, we don't know. Is it from another planet? I don't know. Is it possible that these are something that our adversaries have developed, that they have done a tremendous leapfrog to develop a technology that we don't even come close to having? That's a possibility as well. One way or the other, that we have unidentified objects that can fly through our airspace with impunity, that can do things that seem to defy the laws of physics as we know them, that can remain stationary in hurricane winds, that can fly through the air and the water. I mean, these are all things that have been identified by our military, and yet we don't seem to have much information coming or much concern about what they might be. If they can fly through our most sensitive areas with impunity, Why don't we as a country care enough to find out more about them? Is it just an old Cold War stigma? If you talk about it, people will think you're crazy. Well, you know what? They're out there. There's no doubt that they're out there. We know that they're out there. The pilots see them on a regular basis. It's not unusual. In fact, in some cases, they see them day after day after day after day. And we find about it years later. But in the meantime, nothing's being done to try to identify what they are and to figure out if we have any kind of defense against them. Again, don't know what they are. Nobody seems to have a good idea. The best thinking is they are not from this country. They are not from other countries because we would have picked up on their ability to have such technology through our national technical means. So whatever they are, they're still out there, and they're causing some real concerns. Again, we believe that the truth is out there. And they probably sound a little like that. I don't know. I'm fascinated by this, probably much more than I should be. But for years and years and years, nobody ever would admit that there were things out there until we actually saw the video of one of those things out there. And it became, now what is it? Why are we hemming and hawing and messing around when we have things that can outfly anything we have, outperform anything we have, and enter our airspace, our most sensitive airspace, with impunity? I don't know. It's a real concern I have. Speaking of aircraft and airplanes, American Airlines on Monday unveiled a big plane order. This is a huge one. It's the largest plane order that has been made since 2011. American Airlines is buying 260 new jets from Airbus, Boeing, and Embraer. And it looks like 85 Airbus 321s, 85 Boeing 737 MAX 10s, and the smaller 90 Embraer E-170 aircraft that are usually used for regional flights. It requires options and purchase rights for an additional 193 aircraft. This is a big deal because nobody's been buying planes of late. All the major airlines have had their horns sort of tucked in, trying to get back on their feet post-pandemic. But travel demand is back, says American Airlines CEO Robert Isom. He told an investor conference, and so they're making a big purchase of aircraft around the country. By the way, this is the first ever order for the MAX 10, which is the largest variant of Boeing's 737 MAX planes. It is yet to be certified by the Federal Aviation Administration, and as you know, Boeing has had some problems of late. But I found out that one of the things that was causing that problem was apparently they had sold the fuselage company that was making fuselages. Somebody else took that over, and I think Boeing is trying to buy it back now because they think that's where some of the quality control issues are from. Boeing, though, going through a tough time, but getting an order for some 85 aircraft is good for the economy, and it's good that apparently people are now returning the airwaves and the airways in a way that, quite frankly, we haven't seen in some time. So there's good news there. It's now 49 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Let me tell you about King & Associates Insurance in Brentwood. Been around for some 25 years as an independent agency. Now, what does that mean? That means that they can actually do a lot of good for you. If you go to one of those internet companies that sell insurance, you don't really know what you're getting. You don't have any idea what you're getting. And what they have a one product that they will sell you. But if you go to an independent agency like King & Associates, they have the ability to shop around in a whole host of different companies. And the idea is that they can find a policy that really meets your needs. You get more bang for your buck. You get more insurance for the money you're spending on insurance. The other thing I love is that they have great customer service. When you call this number, 615-329-8121, you don't reach a call center. You don't get a recording. You get an actual person every single time. They are the kings of the multi-policy discount. Savings can be huge, 20, 25, 30, 35%. So get your royal review with King & Associates Insurance. Log on to tkinginsurance.com. King Insurance & Associates, royal treatment and great rates.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to this special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
The United States still trying to get more aid into Gaza as no ceasefire deal has been reached. A fatal plane crash in Tennessee and people still not getting a clue over there at BNA. We got a crime story. Those stories and more. 5 o'clock, Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
It is 56 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Man, I'm telling you, I don't think I've ever had a crowd show up so early.
No, they're raring to go.
Yeah, everybody's starting to show up early, and again, there are plenty of seats available, but it's going to be a rock and rolling event here tonight as people start to come in. The big festivities with all the guys here will start at 6 o'clock tonight, but Dan Mandis is already here. Dan, tell me about that story that you were just talking about regarding to the
exit polling?
Yeah, the exit polling.
So they're watching they're doing some exit polling in North Carolina and Virginia. And they're trying to, they're asking folks, what are their major concerns? What are they voting on?
Yeah.
And first up, right off the bat, is immigration.
Right.
And so that was in both North Carolina and Virginia. Number one was immigration. One of the other things that they're talking about is one of Nikki Haley's biggest donors is telling her to stay in the race unless she gets just creamed tonight. And if she is creamed, he is telling her that it is time to pack up, and this is one of her final big-time donors.
Right.
So
that the border story, though, you read this story this morning on the Dan Mandis show this morning. It's absolutely infuriating that the Biden administration is now admitting that they flew 320,000 migrants into the U.S. from outside the country so they wouldn't have to cross the border. That's unbelievable. So angry.
Well, and the thing is, he is completely ignoring the will of the American people. When you look at the polling, and it shows that by and large, most Americans are concerned about illegal immigration, then he has the gall to keep the numbers crossing the border down. He's flying people directly into our country.
He didn't like the picture of people stacking up at the border.
Yep.
So they were trying to circumvent having that picture look worse by flying people directly from outside the country into the United States. And then that they won't tell us where they landed them, where they landed, which cities. It's interesting. It may be that when this is all shakes out and we find out more about it, that the Biden administration may be responsible for sending a lot of people to these sanctuary cities. They're blaming the governor of Texas, but it may well have been Joe Biden who was doing it, and that's why they don't want to reveal which airports had been used. I know they were going, I bet you anything, some were going to Westchester, just north of New York City. I bet you some were going to California. But, we have the right to know that.
Well,
that's maddening story.
And here's my question then. Will Karine Jean-Pierre accuse President Biden of using these folks as props? Because that's what she said about Greg Abbott. Oh, you're using them as props by flying them around. Well, Joe Biden was doing the same darn thing.
Yeah, just unbelievable. Hiding it from the American people. It is 59 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Let me tell you about the folks over at Restoration Med Spa. As you know, I'm in the middle of a journey to lose some weight with the help from Restoration Wellness Med Spa in Lebanon. And it's true that I did lose a lot of weight last year, but as I started to work through some health issues, I started to feel better. My appetite came back, and with it, I started to gain a little weight. Now, I don't want it to get out of control, and I really like the way that Carly and Jamie and the folks at Restoration Wellness Med Spa have approached this. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. They took the time to look at my history and my lifestyle and then customize a plan that best fits my needs. Listen, I'll be sharing how it's going in the days ahead. But in the meantime, why don't you do what I did? Set up an appointment to develop your customized treatment plan at Restoration Wellness Med Spa. Be a part of the more than 1,000 patients who have already seen life-changing results. Whether your goal is to lose stubborn body fat or improve your overall health, they've got a solution for you. Take advantage of the newest ideas in weight loss management. 615-470-8124. Learn more at restorationwellnessmedspa.com.
.501, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Right now, 61 degrees, rain starting to fall around Middle Tennessee. Traffic, complete weather forecast coming up in 5 minutes. The United States working to get more food and medical aid to Gaza, but there's a problem. It's not clear that it's getting to the people who need it. Andy Field.
While Gaza ceasefire talks have stalled, the U.S. is trying to get more humanitarian aid to Palestinian civilians, either through airdrops or by sea. But
in terms of when they land on the ground, is there anyone there to receive them? And no, that's not the case.
General Pat Ryder saying the U.S. and other countries must find ways to deliver food and medical aid because Israeli forces have cut off border crossings.
A fatal plane crash in Tennessee. A single-engine plane crashed last night on the side of I-40 East in Nashville, ended the lives of 5 people, including 3 children on board. The NTSB says that the plane, originally from Canada, was planning on landing at John Tune Airport.
For reasons unknown, the aircraft descended and approached John C. Tune Airport and passed overhead at 2,500 feet. The pilot reported that he was going to pass over the airport at 2,500 feet. Very quickly thereafter, the pilot reported a catastrophic engine loss of power, or a loss of engine power, a complete loss of engine power. No emergency was declared by the pilot. However, ATC, which was in communications with the pilot, declared an emergency on the pilot's behalf and offered assistance and a landing back at John C. Tune Airport. The airplane passed overhead, made a U-turn, and impacted the road, the shoulder behind me, between mile marker 201 and 202 on I-40 East. The aircraft tumbled, came to rest on the hill behind me, and burst into flames. And all 5 persons on board were fatally injured.
The wreckage was transported to Springfield, Tennessee. They're going to conduct investigations there further on all of the wreckage. Tomorrow around 9 o'clock, they'll get all the wreckage together and determine what caused the engine failure. In approximately 10 days, they'll have a preliminary report finished, and then 9 to 12 months after that, a probable cause will be released. They don't know who was flying the plane, the experience of that pilot, or how long they had been flying at all yesterday. They do know the people aboard were Canadians, 2 adults, 3 children. In the meantime, they are asking the public for any sort of footage of this crash, ring camera videos, car cameras. If you saw or heard this awful crash, they ask that you visit ntsb.gov to help. And some crime at BNA. 47 pounds of marijuana were found in suitcases yesterday at the Nashville airport. Canine Peggy alerted officers to the smell. Officials determining the luggage belonged to 38-year-old Kateria Maldonado Davila. She gave officers a Pennsylvania license. They refused to let her baggage be searched without a warrant. They obtained that warrant. She's now in Metro Jail with a $75,000 bond. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are on the way. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon. It is 8 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, and we're coming to you live from the Nashville Palace all the way until about 8 o'clock tonight. I think we're going to be here. I'm Brian Wilson. I'm doing the drive. Dan Mandis has arrived. Matt Murphy, social butterfly that he is making his way around the room because, he's that way. And he'll be along in a little bit. And Chris Ann will be here. Starting at 6 o'clock, all four of your hosts will be here to bring in some of the results from around the country. We're going to be here, I guess, till about 8 o'clock tonight. So, listen, if you RSVP'd and you want to come and catch up with us, you need to get here because I'm telling you, the place is starting to fill up. I would say, Dan Mandis, I would say probably about half the room is filled.
Yeah, I think so.
And so, you need to get in here. You need to get ready and get settled. It's going to be SRO, but it's going to be a rocking good time tonight.
It is. We are going to have a good time.
It is going to be a good time. I just want to talk a little bit about Super Tuesday. Listen, it is really, short of Election Day itself, it's probably the most important day in the primary process. 15 states and the all-important territory of American Samoa are all holding their primaries at the same time. And look, I don't think anybody is going to be too shocked with what's going to happen tonight. Donald Trump is going to rack up a lot of delegates. Joe Biden is going to rack up a lot of delegates. The question is, how much of an impact does Nikki Haley have? I heard some suggestions today that she might actually do well in the state of Colorado because they have an unusual voting system.
They're all high out there, Brian.
Well, I
clearly.
know. Well, clearly that's part of the problem. But in Colorado, they have an unusual voting system where everybody in the state gets sent a ballot. And if you're unaffiliated, if you're not registered as a Republican or a Democrat, you get both ballots. So that gives all of these unaffiliated voters a chance to mess with Donald Trump if they want to.
I was actually kidding about being high, but I think they actually are high hearing that.
Yeah, so will be interesting to see what happens. Her best chance may well be in Colorado if she's going to pick one off. But by and large expectation is it's going to be a very good night for Donald Trump. Now, what's going on with Nikki Haley, just to bring you up to speed? She has no events on the book past Super Tuesday at the moment. There are reports that she has done everything she can do to sort of end her advertising. She has pushed back on that a little bit, but these independent agencies that look at such things say she doesn't have anything bought past radio or TV ads past Super Tuesday. There is some talk that she might want to do something in Louisiana, but one way or the other, she doesn't really have any big plans. What will happen to Nikki Haley? What will be her decision? She's gone back to South Carolina and is watching results tonight. I can just say this: when you're in the middle of a campaign, you've got your head down all the time. You're focused on the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. You're not really thinking too strategically at times, and it's a whirlwind. It really is. I don't understand her strategy of attacking Donald Trump. I don't see how that helps her. A lot of people say, well, maybe she'll get in as a third-party candidate, but she is starting to say things that are pretty definitive about that, suggesting that that is not at all where she is headed. So what was her game plan? To insult the front runner and to alienate a great number of Republican voters? I can't quite figure out what her game is, but one way or the other, we'll be watching after Super Tuesday to find out what happens to her. Here's a story. She says, in response to the report that she's not buying any ads, she says, there are 0 buys canceled. Well, that doesn't mean that you've got new ones out there. We haven't canceled any. It's a very, these campaigns, they're very clever about the way.
Do you think anybody is actually undecided on Nikki Haley, Brian?
No, I don't. I think you either like Nikki Haley or you don't like Nikki Haley, but one way or the other, I got to tell you, I don't think she has done anything here that the only thing that's happened is it alienates Republicans by bad-mouthing the man who's going to be the nominee here.
I don't think, though, at this point she cares about alienating Republicans.
Well, then is this the end for her? Is this the end of her career?
Well, it's probably the end of her political career, but she can go be a commentator for MSNBC.
Maybe so. Maybe that's what her long-range plan is. Wow, the whole gang is here. We got Matt Murphy way over there in the corner. Matt's got a roving microphone. Matt, are you over there?
I am. Yes, sir.
So
hello.
How's it going over there, Matt?
It's going well. We're filling up already, and we are about an hour away from the official beginning, and we got the front end filled up. So we invite everybody to come in. And I would remind folks, when you come into Nashville Palace, we're on the front side of Nashville Palace. That would be the McCavick Pike side of Nashville Palace, as opposed to the back side. You go to the back side, I went through the back door, and I said, I'm with the band. And they said, oh, okay. And then they took me to a literal band, none of whom knew who I was. Yeah. And I had to back up very quickly.
All right. Good. All right. Well, listen, Matt Murphy is over there. Chris Ann just walked in the door, and he's also now turning on his microphone.
Hello. How are you guys?
I'm doing very well. Well, the gang, hail, the gang's all here, and it's not even 6 o'clock yet. Glad to have you folks.
We couldn't wait to see you, Brian.
I know. I'm glad to have you all here a little early. You know, these live remotes, I mean, this is going to be, wow. I mean, it's going to be a smash tonight, I think. Also, you know, talking about Super Tuesday, I think that really at this point, you've got to understand that Nikki Haley's got to determine what she wants to do. But really, at this point, it's the turning point where you just forget about your opponents, except for your November opponents. So yeah. Donald Trump and Joe Biden are going to go at it. And Joe Biden may clinch tonight. It's potentially possible that he will clinch.
Well, it's pretty easy when they're not allowing anyone else to run against you.
Right.
So, you know, for Biden, you know, he hasn't really had to overcome too much except his own stumbles, literal stumbles. But for Donald Trump, it's obviously just a matter of time. But it's interesting, Brian, when you look at, we were talking about at the end of the last hour, they did some exit polling in Virginia and North Carolina. We talked about how immigration was number one at 43% in Virginia, North Carolina 37% immigration. Those are the top issues for people in Virginia, North Carolina. Number two, in Virginia and North Carolina, both were the economy. So immigration and economy, both of those issues are obviously bad for Joe Biden and essentially good for Donald Trump. Abortion, just for people who are keeping score, abortion was 11% in Virginia and also in North Carolina.
You know, but that question always, I think, gets misinterpreted.
Okay.
Because you can have an opinion either way on the issue of abortion and say it's a concern to me. If you're pro-life or you're, you are, the other side, you can still have an opinion and it can still be important to you. I don't read a lot into that number. A lot of people think that that's bad for Trump. I don't think it is, because if you ask somebody who's, really, really strongly pro-life, they will answer the question, yes, that's an important issue to me.
Well, I haven't seen the numbers for evangelicals in the past couple of weeks, but I know that is a very important topic or issue for them, and they are overwhelmingly supportive of Donald Trump, who has come out somewhat moderate on abortion.
Right.
So I do find that interesting. By the way, last but not least is foreign policy, and so clearly foreign policy, no matter where Joe Biden goes, he's got an issue with foreign policy, whether it's the pullout of Afghanistan, whether it is Israel and Hamas, because he's being pulled in either direction there.
Right.
Because you've got, the people in Michigan who are angry because Biden is seen as supporting Israel, but at the same time, you have people who support Israel and they see the president as effectively supporting Hamas by continuing to fund Iran.
Yeah, Biden's got a real problem in that regard.
Yeah.
What about this word that came out definitively today from Michelle Obama's office saying that she has no interest in running? Now, I've been saying this for some time. I'm happy to say that, I was right. What's the old song from the Five-Man Electric Band? You were right. Yes, you were right all along. You were right, and I was wrong. That's right. You can say that now, Dan Mandis, if you want.
Now listen, Brian. When America speaks and the world needs to be saved, Michelle Obama is going to put on her cape.
Yeah, right.
I'm just trying, just so we know. I'm just trying to trigger Brian.
But it is interesting, she said at the very end, this was a statement from her person. She has a person. Ms. Obama supports President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris's re-election campaign. I've been of the opinion that if somebody were going to get Joe Biden to get out, and tell him, Joe, you can't quite put it together. It's not happening for you. Don't blow this. It would be really a good idea if you backed out of this thing. It would have to be Barack Obama. That she came out with a statement today saying that she's going to support the re-election effort of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris suggests that maybe they're not going to ask him to get out.
Why wouldn't, though, then she come out and say it herself? Can I ask that? Like, why wouldn't she go to George Stephanopoulos and say, I'm going to want to give an interview, and I want to say definitively in my voice that I'm not going to do it, as opposed to going through some generic spokesperson?
Well, she did do that with Oprah, and I think at the end of the day, a lot of people just didn't believe her. One way or the other, she's out, and that's about as a definitive statement as you can make on that issue. All right, listen, we are at the Nashville Palace. The place is really jamming up. It's starting to really fill up. Come on in, get some food, get some drink. Sit back and wait with us as we watch the results come in tonight, starting at around 6 o'clock. It's Brian Wilson from the Palace. We'll be back after this commercial message. Here are some facts about engagement rings you need to know. There are 10 premier bridal designer every woman knows about when they're looking for an engagement ring. World-class, iconic quality names like Tacori and Verragio. These designers are hard to get, and every jewelry store wants them, but very few make the cut. So they have to settle for lesser brands or knockoffs. Around here, there's only one jewelry store that offers these premium rings, and that is Genesis Diamonds. It is the only one that made the cut that meets the highest standards. Genesis is the only store that's allowed to offer these exceptional brands that women are really seeking. Other stores are jealous of this and will try to convince you that they're more expensive and try to get settled for something that's less. But you want Genesis. It's not about price. It's about craftsmanship and quality, detail, and individuality. Don't compromise. Don't settle. Get her a world-class ring she'll be proud of. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs, also home to the state's largest selection of luxury pre-owned Rolexes.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to the special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
More humanitarian aid to Gaza, crime in Tennessee, and one man accused of stealing from veterans. Those stories 30 minutes after the hour of 5 o'clock right here. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat.
That's right, it's time for Mac Morey's wild world of sports. And now, here without further ado, you know him, you love him, you can't live without him, the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only, the incomparable Mac Morey, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, wow, the crowd's out in double tonight, Brian.
No, the crowd is drinking. That's as far as I can tell. This is going to be a little different because I'm doing it in such a noisy environment. But, Mac, what's on tap for today? And I'll let you ride me out of this thing so I don't overwhelm you with all the crowd noise, okay?
Well, today on the docket, we've got some NBA. So a few months ago, if you guys remember, right before the NBA draft, I was talking about some NBA prospects, one of which being one of the most historic prospects we've seen this century, maybe the best prospect basketball has ever seen in all of history, Victor Wembanyama. To refresh your memory, it's the 7'4", 19-year-old that was drafted by the San Antonio Spurs. He dribbles and shoots like a guard. He can back up like a center. Name a position, he has the skill set that you'd want. And, I thought we'd do a check-in. We're 50, 60 games through the NBA season. This guy was touted like the next, LeBron James-esque prospect, going back all the way, to 2003 when LeBron James was drafted. So let's just check in. So he's now 20 years old. We discussed him when he was 19. He's living up to the hype right now. Right now, 21, 10, and 3. That's 21 points a game, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, over 3 blocks a game from Victor Wembanyama. He's shooting 47% from the floor, 33% from range. He just won Rookie of the Month. Now, that's pretty good. You're going, okay, 21, 10, and 3. That's not bad. It's not amazing. 33% from 3. Well, let's just look at the last 2 weeks, the last 8 games, okay? 25 points a game, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, 50-40 shooting splits. Now, he can shoot the ball. He can shoot over anyone. He can shoot from range. He can drive inside, off the dribble. But it's not just the offense right now. It is the defense. He is, over the last 8 games, 10 blocks, 2 steals, 3 blocks, 1 steal, 5 blocks, 5 steals, 5 blocks, 5 steals, 5 blocks, 4 blocks, 5 blocks, 6 blocks. That's every game. No one really does this. This is like nothing we've really ever seen before. Now, it's not just the blocks. The way he is affecting shots. When Wembanyama is off of the court, they are shooting 44% from the 3 on corner threes, just when he's off the court. Now, when you put him just on the court, his presence alone, that 7'4" frame combined with the athleticism and the awareness, those corner threes go down a whole 10%, 34 to 44, wow. 44 to 34% when Victor Wembanyama's presence is on the floor. And that is translating not just to Rookie of the Month. Forget that. Let's go league-wide. Defensive Player of the Year, he is second as far as voting odds right now. He is second. He would be the first rookie to win that award. 3.92 blocks per game this last month, 9 double-doubles. He had a triple-double. He had 5 games this last month with 20 rebounds, 10 boards, and 5 blocks. He's the only player in the NBA with 250-plus points, 100 rebounds, and 50 assists, and 40 blocks in 1 month. What Wembanyama is doing right now is legitimately like nothing we've ever seen before. And when you have this much hype going into a season, literally being compared to maybe the second greatest, maybe the first greatest basketball player of all time in LeBron James, I'd say second. Yeah. I'd say MJ. But it'd be hard to live up to that hype. So far, a few months in, he's doing it.
That's crazy for a 19-year-old kid.
A 19-year-old, now 20-year-old kid.
these phenoms that come along every so often in sports, it's really something to watch somebody that just has a gift that's far. I mean, it happens in music, it happens in acting, it happens in all different things. You just, every once in a while, somebody comes along, you say, this person is just has a gift like nobody else. And it sounds like this young man is one of those.
He really is. And we knew that from the get-go, right? Watching him in France, it was easy to see, okay, we can picture this on the NBA floor. He's 7'4".
Sure,
He's somewhat
huge.
of a unicorn. He's huge. He can even shoot the three. We know the modern NBA is heading that way, right? They love guys who can spread the floor. Even if you're a center, it'd be nice if you could shoot a decent clip from range. Everyone's going to be expected to go out into the corner. But he's doing it on the wing. He's doing it at the top of the key. And again, if you watch some of these clips, guys, these are ISO possessions between the leg, looking like a guard, dribbling the basketball, stepping back to 29, 30-foot three-point triples. If you look at per 36 minutes among rookies in history, if you add up points, rebounds, assists, blocks, and steals, he is blowing the competition out of the water. We're talking names like Shaquille O'Neal, David Robinson, Michael Jordan, Luka Doncic for modern. David Robinson, Shaquille, Michael Jordan, they're right over 40 points, rebounds, assists, blocks, and steals. If you combine those per 36 minutes, Michael Jordan, 41.1. Victor Wembanyama, 49.1.
Wow.
Per 36 minutes. It's statistically passing the eye test, passing the box score. What we're seeing from Wembanyama is truly incredible and historic, and it's going to translate to wins eventually. Right now, he's on a pretty rough team. I mean, they're 13 and 48. They're the last team in the Western Conference. They're a bottom 5 team overall in the NBA. But he's showing up. He's going up against these stars one-on-one, night to night, and showing it on a prime-time basis that he is this guy. So, I thought we'd just do a midseason check-in to really kind of follow up on how I was touting up this 7'4" phenom. He really is showing it.
Well, he really is a phenom. All right, good stuff, Mac. Time to take off your snazzy sports hat, put on your news hat, because it's 5:30 at Super Talk 99.7. Time for the news.
5:30, I'm Mac Morey with your top story. 60 degrees, a rainy, overcasty day in Nashville. Expecting a lot of that this week. We got a traffic report and a weather forecast in 5 minutes. The United States working to get more food and medical aid to Gaza, but there is a problem. It's not clear it's getting to the people who need it. Andy Field.
If Israel hadn't blocked the exits, the U.S. and other nations would be able to deliver far more humanitarian help in Gaza. So the U.S. is dropping supplies by parachute and now looking for a way in through the sea.
We are actively reviewing options for a maritime corridor for humanitarian assistance into Gaza.
General Pat Ryder saying the U.S. also negotiating a ceasefire so they can bring help in by land.
Crime in Tennessee. 36-year-old Richard Cornelius, a security guard at a downtown Nashville bar, was arrested after allegedly assaulting 26-year-old Austin Turner on February 18th. Midtown Hills Precinct detectives accused Cornelius of striking Turner, causing him to fall to the ground, making him unconscious. Turner remains hospitalized at Vanderbilt Medical. According to a GoFundMe set up by his mother, Turner suffered a skull fracture that led to a subdermal hematoma. He remains in critical care in a coma. Cornelius was released on a $25,000 bond. And a Massachusetts man accused of stealing tens of thousands of dollars from a program that helps veterans at risk of suicide. Dave Packer reports on what he allegedly spent it on.
48-year-old David Duran, otherwise known as Dawood Hakeem Duran, was a program manager for a nonprofit provider of veteran suicide prevention in New Hampshire. He recommended the provider hire E3 Foundation to provide services for a grant. That supposed foundation was headed by Duran himself, and over the course of months submitted invoices for $50,000 in services, which prosecutors say he spent on a Royal Caribbean cruise and payments to models on OnlyFans.
And that is the latest news. Weather, traffic next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Let me tell you about the folks over at Beacon Capital Management. You know, if we've learned anything over the last few years, it's that we can expect change. And for those nearing retirement, change can feel a little scary. If you're worried about how things like inflation and interest rates will affect your retirement nest egg, use Beacon Capital Management's free retirement savings calculator. It's completely free, super fast, and you'll get your results right away. To learn more about that, just go to AskBeaconNow.com. I mean, honestly, maybe you need a deeper dive. Why don't you give them a call at 615-488-9303. At the end of the process, you'll be able to rest easy knowing that you have a plan that meets your retirement goals. Replace the worry with confidence that you're on the right path. That number again, 615-488-9303. The experts at Beacon stand ready to take your stress away, and you can learn more at AskBeaconNow.com. It is 37 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right. Oh, no, that's not near good enough, ladies and gentlemen. I said it's 5:38 now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Yeah, okay. I think they're having a great time, and the consumption of alcoholic beverages and food is taking place. We're having a good time here. We're at the Nashville Palace, and yeah, it's crazy and it's loud, but come on down. Man, this place is filling up, and it's not even 6 o'clock yet. So if you want to come by, you better get here pretty quick. It's very close to being standing room only here at the Nashville Palace for our Super Talk 99.7 live event. Let me just go through a couple of things that are going on right now. With the situation here in Tennessee. You may not have heard this, but a federal judge in Nashville has upheld a Tennessee law aimed at making sure that primary voters are indeed bona fide members of the party that they are voting for. This, according to Channel 4, a federal judge in Nashville yesterday dismissed a challenge to a Tennessee law aimed at making sure primary voters are bona fide members of the party for which they are voting. Former ambassador to Poland and longtime Tennessee Republican politician Victor Ashe sued state election officials in November, claiming the law is so vague that he could be prosecuted for voting in a Republican primary. A law passed last year requires polling places to post warning signs stating that it's a crime to vote in a political party primary if you're not a member of that party. And those signs date back to 1972 in a state law that has rarely been invoked or enforced. It requires primary votees to be bona fide party members. Because Tennessee voters are not registered by party, Ashe and other plaintiffs argue the law invites arbitrary enforcement and are likely to intimidate otherwise legitimate voters. But on Monday, U.S. District Judge Eli Richardson dismissed the lawsuit, ruling that Ashe, real estate developer Phil Lawson, and the League of Women Voters of Tennessee lacked the standing to sue. And he found their claims of potential injury was too speculative. So the challenge to the law has fallen by the wayside, and it sounds like that matter has been resolved. Other news that we haven't got a chance to get to before we begin our official broadcast here in about 20 minutes has to do with the Fannie Willis case. As you know, Fannie Willis's fate of her has been called into question once again, according to Newsweek, after a Georgia prosecutor offered to testify against her, claiming another witness's testimony about her relationship with Nathan Wade was wrong. Last month, Willis, the Fulton County District Attorney, gave evidence in a two-day hearing following accusations by former Donald Trump staffer and co-defendant Michael Roman that she was having an affair with Wade. A special prosecutor she hired in the high-profile case has also alleged the pair had benefited financially from taxpayer money. Now, Willis and Wade later admitted they had a relationship but denied the conflict of interest. The timeline of their relationship has emerged as a key point of contention, and Roman has said it started earlier than they admitted. Trump's lawyers examined phone records alleging the pair were in a relationship before the Georgia election fraud case began, which would be a big problem for Fannie Willis. Now, one witness in the case was Terrence Bradley, Wade's former divorce attorney, who gave evidence attesting that the pair's relationship timeline was correct. Monday court filing, Cindy Lee Yeager, a co-chief deputy district attorney for the Cobb County District Attorney's Office, said Bradley told her Willis and Wade's relationship began earlier than they had stated. And that is, again, another bad moment for Fannie Willis. And the judge seems to have heard all the testimony, but more testimony keeps coming in. More and more testimony keeps coming in. People are adding to the witness, what the witnesses have said. And it seems as if the judge is ready in the next week or so to make a judgment about Fannie Willis. I believe Fannie Willis and Nathan Wade will be removed from the case, and then the question becomes, what happens to the case? Do they have to start over, etc.? The Trump people are asking for that to happen. It would be a big victory, but a very bad bit of information that keeps coming through over the transom each day as the situation gets worse and worse for Fannie and Nathan Wade. Also, remember we told you yesterday that in the situation with the Supreme Court ruling that Trump gets to stay on the Colorado ballot, well, a spokesperson for Speaker Johnson says that Democrats need to get a grip, and they're now talking about finding a way to actually get Trump off the ballot by taking congressional action. Now, Democrats are not in charge of the House, but they are now saying, well, okay, if the Supreme Court says this is a congressional matter and not a state matter, and that's why Colorado does not have the ability to take them off, now there are some Democrats in the House saying, well, let's make it a congressional matter. Now, that is a lot of inflated talk, because to do that, they would have to have permission from the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. Today, he slammed reports that Democrats are trying to gin up legislation in reaction to the Supreme Court decision. Now, I don't think that's going to happen, but this is all being ginned up by one Jamie Raskin, a former member of the January 6th Select Committee, He's already, he said, crafting federal legislation that would force Trump off the ballot. But a spokesperson for Speaker Johnson told Fox News Digital on Monday night that the Democrat colleagues should get a grip. In this country, American people decide the next president, not the courts and not the Congress. So it doesn't look like that's going to go very far at all. We will watch that situation very closely, but I got to tell you, Democrats are just not going to give up. They just hate Donald Trump so much that they have a situation where they're going to try to do everything they can. There's going to be no stone unturned. And it's really sort of unfair that they have to go through this whole process for Donald Trump. It's like how many hurdles are they going to throw at him? It's really getting to be just kind of silly at this point. Listen, and finally, this hour, before we begin our broadcast at 6 o'clock, I want to revisit this story that I started my show with it, and if you missed it, I want to make sure that you heard about this. And it has to do with the Biden administration and a new revelation that some 320,000 migrants have secretly been flown into the U.S. by the Biden administration. And it was something that they kept a secret. And now they're also saying, not only do we not want to talk about it, but we're not going to tell you which airports we took these people to. I mean, understand that the Biden administration had a problem with the pictures that were showing up at the border. Immigrants coming across the border. It was a bad picture for them. They wanted that picture to stop. So you know what they did? They went directly into the different countries where these immigrants were coming from and tried to do everything they could to get them on planes and fly them directly, not go through the border, not make the long trek. We're just going to fly you directly into this country. And the way it all worked was that with an app that they put together that allowed people in different countries who wanted to immigrate to the United States to simply apply for asylum online and then get on a plane in like Venezuela and Central America and Mexico and be flown directly into the country by the Biden administration. Outrageous that this happened. And so many questions are being raised by this. Number one question is, how in the world did they get away with doing it for so long without anybody finding out about it? And now that they have found out about it, why won't they release information about where they came from? This is maddening. The Biden administration wanted to bring people to this country so badly that not only did they just wave them through when they crossed the Rio Grande River, they actually chartered planes and flew them directly into the country so they wouldn't have to go through the arduous trek, so they wouldn't have to cross the border, so they wouldn't have to be processed at these border sites, and flew them into, well, we don't know where. Wouldn't it be interesting if at the end of the day we're talking about 320,000 migrants who have been secretly spirited into the country by the Biden administration? What if they ended up in places like New York, Chicago, L.A., these sanctuary cities? If indeed that was the case, then it would be like you hear everybody complaining about Governor Abbott sending people. Joe Biden was sending people into the country. It's a maddening story. This has been broken by the Daily Mail. A couple of other people have picked up on it. But I guarantee you this story needs to be picked up and by other mainstream media. I wonder if it will. I doubt that it will. But the maddening fact here is that the Biden administration has now admitted that they flew 320,000 migrants into the country directly so they wouldn't have to go to the border. They were so desperate to bring people in that they took this amazingly unheard of action of flying migrants directly from their country into our country in the dark of night, releasing them into the communities. And we're talking about 320,000 people. Astonishing, amazing, very troubling. And I hope this story gets wider play, because if that happened, it shows lie to the things that the Biden administration is saying about how they were doing everything they could to stop the flow. They weren't trying to stop the flow. They were actually flying people into the country on U.S. taxpayer dollars. Watch this story. I hope that it gets bigger. I hope that it blows up. Being reported now by the Daily Mail. It is now 50 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTA. Let me tell you about the folks over at DT McCall's. Good people. They've been around in this area doing business for more than 100 years. That's awesome, isn't it? And how do you do that? Well, you have it because you have a reputation for treating people correctly. And they certainly do that. Why shop at DT McCall's? A huge selection of appliances, furniture, more guns, and everything. And you need to get ready. If you're thinking about, I need an appliance, I need some furniture, I need a mower, any of the things that you might need around your house as we get into spring, they've got a huge spring savings sale coming on March 22nd. So, I mean, we're giving you a lot of advance warning. I mean, you got. I'm looking at the flyer now. You need an appliance, they got it. You need a bedroom suite, they've got it. Amish handcrafted, all-American mattresses made in Tennessee. You need something like maybe you need a refrigerator for your garage or your man cave, right? They got a scratch and dent sale going on, and you'll be able to find something for a really good cost that you can put in the garage. You know, you don't mind if it has a little ding on it, do you? I mean, it's page after page after page of great prices, and whatever you need for your home, you're going to find it here at DT McCall's. Listen, find out about their 5 convenient locations: Carthage, Lafayette, Lebanon, Cookeville, Franklin. Learn more by going to their website, dtmccalls.com.
Still no ceasefire deal reached over there in the Israel-Hamas war. A fatal plane crash in Tennessee and some new information coming out concerning it. Crime rates in Nashville, the increases, the decreases, where they come at, and spring breakers maybe want to find another destination. Florida saying, not here this year. 6 o'clock, Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right. Thank you, Mac Morey. We look forward to getting the news here in just a moment. Thank you so much for being there for us today. Chris Weber as well. Listen, we are going to begin our live broadcast with all hands on deck starting here in just a few moments in the 6 o'clock hour. So I hope that you'll stick around. It's going to be a great show. So hang on. The special broadcast with all the hosts begin in just a few moments. And in the meantime, let me tell you about the folks over at Busy Bee. Listen, maybe you have had a situation where your air conditioner's not working because it's been warm. Maybe you got a problem with your heater when it's cold at night. Maybe you got a plumbing issue. Listen, whatever it is, just call this number, 615-775-7833, and the folks over at Busy Bee will rush right over. They'll buzz over to your hive and get you up and running. Listen, you need to be a member of the Beehive Club because the way you avoid all these problems is to make sure that you're doing preventative maintenance, and that's what the Beehive Club is all about. Starts at $99. You get 3 thorough maintenance services, one aimed at heating, one aimed at cooling, one aimed at plumbing. No overtime charges 24/7, and 10% off all repairs. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling is your official Rude Pro partner. For satisfaction guaranteed, call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, 775-7833, online at busybehvac.com.